welcome back. So today is the day we all have been waiting for. Not really, but some of you have. Today we're gonna talk about my trip to Canada for the DNRS program and the DVDs I'm gonna talk about and kind of where I'm at now. I do have notes for this video because I want to be able to say all the things I want to say and not ramble on for a good hour trying to process and trying to remember every little detail. And honestly, there's gonna be a lot of things that will probably be left out. I'm gonna tell you right out of the gate that I'm not gonna like tell you 100% how the program works, because honestly, after going there, you have to actually experience it for yourself. You just gain so much more understanding and knowledge going through the seminar than I could ever try to tell you about. But stay tuned for the whole thing though, because I did have some improvements, and so we're just gonna kind of unpack some of this. First of all, I have some disclaimers. One, I am not a scientist. Okay, I am Monica and I am a well person trying to get better, and in the process I am just trying to help other people, because I'll be honest, I went a year undiagnosed and it was probably the worst year of my life, and I wish I would have found a video like this way back when for somebody to help me. You know, number two disclaimer is I am a Christian and I am always going to pull my own beliefs into my videos. I understand we're not all gonna believe the exact same things, but the thing is, I won't shove him down your throat, but I'm not gonna be shy about adding him to my videos because he's a big part of my life. He's who I go to first before anything. Number three, I am also learning and healing still myself. And I am not an expert in this in any way, shape, or form, but it is something that I've realized that rewiring your brain, which is neuroplasticity, is also biblical. So when I found that out and I saw the science behind it and I saw the word of God, I'm like, oh my gosh, our pastor says this all the time, that science is catching up with the word of God, and it is very much true. And so this program, as a Christian, I personally really liked because it was strictly science-based. It didn't pull any weird stuff that I knew wasn't of God. I'll leave it right there. And I knew that this is what I wanted. I just straight out wanted to learn about neuroplasticity and how to rewire my brain. And that is what this program is. And I love how I can tie in the word of God with it for me personally. If you're not into that, that's okay. I still want you to hopefully listen, because I'm mainly going to talk about the science behind stuff. But like I said, I'm not going to apologize for being a Christian and tying that into my videos. So I don't want this video to be an eternity long, so we'll get rolling here. I'm not going to share my whole story on here. That is part of retraining my brain. I can't keep going back to the place where it all started. It's not that I'm choosing to forget it or I'm not acknowledging it, because you have to heal from that. But the thing is, when you learn about neuroplasticity, you're going to understand why I can't continue to talk about certain things all the time. But I'll say this, in June 5th, 2017 is when I had an episode, and that started the sickness, illness, whatever it is, okay? I will link a couple videos down below that I do talk about it more in detail. And this was obviously before I started the program and stuff. So in one of them especially, I really talk about some of the tough stuff that I went through. And so yeah, if you are into this kind of stuff and just want to hear me talk about just where I'm at in my process with this whole thing, like the video, subscribe, share it, and I definitely also want to keep this an encouraging place. So if you disagree with me, I'm sorry, but you don't have to watch my video either. So I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just being real that we are all people and we all have our own beliefs and our views on things, and this is my personal story and everything I've kind of gone through in a condensed version. Okay, like I said, I'm gonna definitely read off of here a lot. So I'm sorry if I'm not like one-on-one with the camera, because I just am not doing that today. Okay, so months prior to the in-person seminar in February, I did do the DVDs. In my opinion, it really helped me learn the science behind everything, and it actually sucked me in because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. And I'm a very artsy, crafty, musical kind of person, so when something science like strikes me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really felt like the Lord was like, get a hold of this because I'm going to teach you something. And so I went through the DVDs and I kind of had that aha moment. I was like, yes, this is what's going to help get me better. And like I said, I knew it tied in with the Word of God. So that was all great. I took lots of notes. I remember back when I did the DVDs, I was worse than I am right now. I remember even that was around Christmas time. I spent a lot of time in bed yet. When I did my DVDs, I was in bed doing them because I needed, for those of you that don't know, it's triple PD. And so basically my sensory stuff, my vision, the hearing, sound, light, balance stuff is extremely heightened. So I did my DVDs in my bedroom where I could have control over my environment a little bit. And so, yes. So anyway, so I did that, but I will admit I had a little bit of a hard time understanding some of the practices on the DVDs, but I have to say I also back then had a lot of brain fog and fatigue. And so obviously that's going to impact what I'm taking in and what I'm learning. So although I did get a lot of knowledge behind the certain things, I had a hard time understanding some of the practices. But like I said, that could have just been me and where I was at that time. But they also do say if you're having a hard time kind of getting through it or whatever, definitely go through the DVDs again. I'll admit I did not, but at this point I already knew that I wanted to go to the in-person seminar. So anyways, to be able to do that, obviously it is not the cheapest thing in the world, but I have spent so much money on doctors and other things that I was like, at this point, I just knew that this was the key and the answer to everything, that I'm like, this needs to happen. And thankfully, my husband was on board too. And honestly, the Lord definitely provided for us financially to be able to go, which was amazing. Got awesome flights and everything. And, okay, so you had to obviously pay for the program, but first you had to go through an interview because obviously they need to know that you actually have a limbic system impairment prior to going to the program because there were only limited spots, and obviously they want to know that this is what you need healing in, that part of your brain. And I very much qualified to go, obviously, hence why I'm making the DVD. I'm not making a DVD video. And so so that was that. And then let's see, what did I write down here? Between prayer and the little bit of retraining my brain I did through the DVDs, I believe that's what helped me get to Canada. Because that was 3 plane rides there and 3 plane rides back, and that with the I'm just so you all know, I'm gonna not say symptoms, but I'm gonna use the word it's, okay, for that. So just that alone would generally heighten my its, but I actually did very well, but I did have a lot of people praying for me as well, so that was excellent. I'm sorry if you hear my puppies barking, they're playing outside right now, but I didn't want them in here. So Okay. So when I got there, the program is Monday through Friday, and I can totally see now why they call it Neuroplasticity Boot Camp. Like when I first read that, I was like, okay, I'm like, I didn't think much of it, but now after going through with it, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, it definitely is a lot of work, but it's worth it. Let's see, the very first night, we had supper together, and then we got into the room where I was at, and there were chairs like in a U shape, and then they had the screen and the monitor or whatever, where we were gonna be, watching videos and whatnot, and the speakers would be up there. And that was the only night where we could talk about why we were there and what we were diagnosed with, and basically our symptoms and that stuff, and how long we had been dealing with it. Well, and obviously our name and where we're from, so we could get to know each other. And there was something that just struck me that very first night after we got all done doing that, and we all shared where we're from, and some people had been suffering for like 20, 30 years with different things. And one of the biggest things that hit me was one of the the instructors came up at the end, and she said that prior to coming, they totaled up our years of combined suffering. Out of us, there's 30 of us in this group, and it was 617 years, and my heart just wept. Like, I can't even express to you how I felt inside. And I'm like, Lord, 617 years of suffering with just 30 people. And I remember looking around, I'm like, I could just see like the desperation in the room, like I need help. This has to be finally the answer. I was one of them, Okay, gotta move along here. So during that week, we could not use our phones during the class because there were some people that were sensitive to I forget what it's called. Is it EMF sensitivities? I probably got that wrong, but anyways, we couldn't have our phones on. We ate healthy meals for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between, no sugar. That was a stretch for me because a lot of people had food allergies. I did not. But I'll tell you about that at the very end, hopefully, if I remember. And then also, it was basically all day long as we had class, and then in the evenings, we had to practice, and we had homework that we had to do. So it literally was boot camp. Like, it was not a relaxing vacation, and I'm gonna do this in the evenings. No, you actually had to put work and effort behind it, but I see why now. Because mid-week, I would say about Wednesday, I started noticing that my light sensitivity was decreasing, and I was like, it just kind of hit me. I was like, hey, when you're so used to something and it's there like all the time, and then like they even said this would happen, and then when it finally like lifts or it like starts going away, you don't even realize it right away until you're like, wait a second, I was able to come into a room and I didn't like check to see what kind of lighting was in the room before I went in, like walked through the door. Now for some normal people, they won't understand that, but some of you will. Or like, even not with the light sensitivity, but even with, if you have problems tracking your eyes, like I do as well, carpets and patterns will bother you. And so that's where my mind would also go right away. What kind of carpet's in this room? What kind of wallpaper? What kind of blah, blah, blah? It's always checking. And it was cool because I had a moment of like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even check and I'm okay. It wasn't 100% better, but it like decreased a ton. Also, I noticed, due to all of the sensory issues I had, it did cause anxiety and depression and stuff like that, because I'm going on 2 years of this. And so when those things were increased, obviously it would make the anxiety go higher because your world is changing, obviously, and it's scary. And but anyways, anxiety was much lower as well. I just have to say it works. Have I been faithful to absolutely everything that I was supposed to do when I got home? No, because I'll be honest, it's not easy. Now, some people will be like, oh, why can't you accomplish that in a day? Some days when you really feel like crud, it's hard to like get dressed for the day, okay? I'm just talking really real to some of you here, for those of you that may not understand. Because this program, you have to devote an hour a day for the next 6 months. Because you have to do your rounds, and that's where you retrain your brain, and that's what they teach you there. And I completely see why it works. I've been trying my hardest. My goal is to do 2 rounds in the morning, and they even suggest this. I do 2 rounds in the morning, which is a half an hour, 2 rounds in the evening. And then also throughout the day, you need to catch your POPs, which stands for Pathways of the Past. Now that's old thinking patterns, your body scanning, you're checking symptoms, you're thinking negatively. So every time you are thinking or feeling or doing something that you always know is not helping your brain heal and get better, you have to stop that right away and redirect your thought. And so that is how you're going to rewire your brain as well, because when you've been sick for so long, your brain is used to these certain patterns, and those neurons have been firing together for so long that they're just on autopilot at this point, and you actually have to work to make them stop. Okay, I'll move on from that. Let's see. Some things that I've learned. Now this is the part where I'm gonna go back into some of my notes, and I'm just gonna share some key things and just facts that I found really fascinating. First of all, I just wanna say that thoughts alone can change your brain. And that's why you have to catch your POPs, because even if I am not, for example, just for the sake of this video, say in my mind, I have the thought, I'm never going to get better. Okay, so that thought came to my mind, so I can choose to like focus on that thought more, because the more you focus on it, the more power you're giving it. And the like science-wise, it's actually making that connection even stronger the more you focus on that thought. And so that thought for me is, when I think of I'm not going to get better, it makes me sad, it makes me depressed, it makes me like have no hope, and obviously I'm just gonna spiral down into this hole that you do not want to go there. Okay, I had way too many of those days, and trust me, you got to get out of those holes. And so I've had that thought since being home, but in order to get that thought to stop, so as soon as I think that thought, I have to be like, and I usually will say it out loud then. So say I just randomly thought, I'm not going to get better. I will speak it out, and I will say, oh my gosh, I'm getting so much better. Like, I am just basically declaring my future. And like I said, that is also the word of God, is declaring health over my body. So in my declaration for myself, because they make you make a declaration for your rounds that you will learn when you're there. And mine is, I'm energetic, balanced, see clearly, and engaged in my life. And I can honestly say I am much more engaged in my life since being back. Am I 100% better? No. I've been back for about a month, a little over a month or so. That was the end of February, March. Yeah, it's been like a month. So, but I have not been good about the hour a day. Like, I at least do a half an hour a day, but I know I need to up what I'm supposed to be doing. But the thing is, I have seen some improvement, and I know it's gonna work, and it's just a matter of time. Okay, some things I will share with you here quick. Like I said, thinking alone can change your brain. You gotta change your language. And you also, when you do this program, or say if you do the DVDs, you have to talk to your family or the people that you're around a lot, because you need people that are going to encourage you and not constantly ask you, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? Because we already know, we've already gone through this for so long, like we don't need to keep talking about it. The goal now is to get better from it. Let's see, I have a lot of notes, so I won't get into the super scientific stuff because that might be too much for everyone. Basically, you got to get off what they call the stress wheel. So say for my whole story, I kind of see how my whole thing kind of happened to me. I'm gonna have a drink quick. But just for a general example, so you got your stress wheel, and up at the top you have your stressor, and say you had an injury and then it caused pain, and then it turns into a thought, a feeling, and behavior. The thought, feeling, and behavior is that thing you have to try to like stop then. Because say, yes, you got stressed out by something and it caused pain to your body, or, okay, that's probably not gonna be helpful. Let me give you an example. Okay, so one thing that happened to me, I can't pinpoint the stress or whatever, but I did have a back injury where I had to have surgery, caused lots of pain 2 years prior to getting back surgery. And so I had this pain, and then you start thinking certain thoughts that probably aren't good, okay? And then you're feeling a certain way, you know, emotion-wise, and then you make certain patterns and behaviors because of what you've gone through. It's like a trauma loop circle, okay? You basically, after that, then have to change your experience and your belief. And it's basically, as soon as something happens in your life, you gotta rein it in and take control of it right away, is what I'm learning, okay? That I could actually talk about on a whole different video on how important it is to take care of our bodies and our minds, but that will be for another day. In order to change, we need to think greater than how we feel. The laws of neuroplasticity, as they would say, is in order to create change in our brain to move forward in life, we have to recognize association, our focus, and repetition. So what are things that we've associated together? Like me, it would be eyes and the light, okay? Or balance and carpet. And then what am I focusing on? I generally am focusing on those things, but I need to I need to change my focus and start focusing on other things. Like I gotta get my brain off of looking at carpet when I go into a room or whatever, and then I have to repeat that. So say, like, I go to Walmart all the time. I can honestly say going to Walmart is a much more pleasant experience for me now, because I'm going in there now not like predicting the future, like, oh, as soon as I go in there, I know the lights are gonna set me off and I'm just gonna escalate down into this hole where I'm gonna feel like crud by the time I get out of there. No, now I go into there knowing like, okay, hey, I have to get this, this, and this, and this, and I have a plan, and I'm not gonna choose to focus on the sensory stuff. And that I have to over and over and over again before, you know, and eventually I'm not even gonna think about the lighting the first thing as soon as I get into that building. I hope that makes sense. You have to know what you want, and that's where your declaration comes in. Write it down. I have it written all over my house on pieces of paper, okay? Let's see. When we engage our emotions, it is easier for our brain to make new connections. Emotions strengthen connections. And this is one other thing. They're like, you need to make yourself laugh. You need to watch funny baby videos, cat videos, if that's your thing. Is not my thing. I'm not a cat fan. Anyways, you got to do whatever you got to do to make yourself laugh. You have to try to enjoy life. You have to have fun no matter, you just got to try, okay? Because obviously neurons that fire together, wire together. We are learning to create different associations. We have to make new data with familiar information. Let's see. I told myself I wasn't going to go over a certain time limit, so I got to finish up here. We basically have to unmemorize the emotion associated with trauma as well. What we choose to focus on is what we feed. Like I said earlier, when we focus on these certain things, we're only making those connections and those neurons that are already wired together even stronger and grow. And with neuroplasticity, we are trying to break down those and disconnect them. You need to feed joy, calm, you have to love, appreciation, etc., all those kinds of emotions. And one other key thing with this, because I admitted to you guys, I haven't been great at doing my hour a day or whatever, but the thing is, I can't feel bad about it or like beat myself up for not doing it, because the other key to it, you have to be kind to yourself. You have to realize you are doing your best and you do what you can do. And over time, you know, for everyone, you're going to be able to do more. But the thing is, you got to rein in those emotions right away and those thoughts of that, oh, I'm a failure because I didn't do this, because that's just that's not true. And so say I only did one round one day and I wasn't very good at catching my pops. So that was yesterday. Today I'm going to make a better effort at it, okay? Fear and the belief that your condition is permanent can act as large barriers to your success. Fear actually will cause you to stay stuck in your sickness. Now, this is also biblical, and you know, this is where, once again, I'm gonna say it, you've gotta take control of your life. And I wish I could just snap my fingers and poof, it all be gone in a second. And yes, the Lord does perform miracles, but I'm learning that I'm walking through this healing process for a purpose. And the thing is, I have to rein in fear. I have to rein in anxiety. I have to rein in certain things because I am determined to get well. And that's just where I'm at. And I am proud to say that I've come this far where, yeah, I may not have good days some days, but you know what? I'm trying. I am working on things. And I also have a group of people around me that I believe are helping me get there. But honestly, my husband is the best. He's been my number one encourager, and he also pushes me a little bit, which is good. Let's see, I only have a couple minutes left. I'll just talk about this really quick. The power of the imagination. Always visualize positive results. Changes in thoughts and feelings alters our internal biochemistry. Add vision to your declaration. Make a vision board. Let's see, anything else? Basically, change your focus. Record your progress daily. You have to practice, and you have to think greater than how you feel. That is something they also said a lot. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope I answered some questions that some of you may have had. I highly recommend the program because there were things that I didn't catch on the DVDs that I definitely did there, and I regret it. I feel it was 100% worth the money. And it also made me realize I also need to start eating better, because that week I have never slept better than I did that week. And I looked at a lot of things. I was like, whoa, I was eating way better. I had way less sugar than I normally have. And I wasn't on my electronics as hardly at all. So think about those two things too, because it's amazing just decreasing sugar and electronics, what that will also do for your health. So I am up for my time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, like and subscribe and share if you have somebody that needs some encouragement as well, or has been considering this program, because I definitely highly recommend it. And I will probably do a 3-month update. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.